Welp, don't honestly quite know where to start with this one. Um, I, you, you know what? The weather was the 12th man today for the Northwestern Wildcats. And hey, I give Northwestern a lot of credit because they had a game plan. It was a clear game plan when they were with the wind. They played fast. They played up tempo. When they were against the wind, they slowed it down and really grinded out the clock and didn't let this Ohio State offense do much on the field. In fact, looking at time of possession numbers now, Ohio State only had the ball for 23 and a half minutes in this game. Yet, still able to come away with a victory, and November football is all about surviving in and advancing. But the thing about college football is a win is not always a win. It's a lot about how you look in that win, too. And Ohio State did not look good today in almost every single aspect out there. Now, we are going to get into the breakdown and into the nitty-gritty of this game, but because I got, frankly, a lot to say about what we just saw go on earlier this afternoon. But we have a lot to fix because if you look at those last two games on the schedule, I know Maryland got dismantled by Wisconsin today, but you can't discount that game. And then the game at the end of the year, I think is going to start to make Ohio State fans more and more nervous, even though Michigan struggled a little bit with Rutgers today, ended up pulling out big, kind of the same way that Ohio State ended up winning this game here. But what's up, Tailgaters? My name's Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. If this is the first time here, I'm an Ohio State fan. I do one of these after every single game. And if you are an Ohio State fan like me, even if you're not and you're just a college football fan like me and you want to hear updates on all I have to talk about around the world of college football, make sure you hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, turn notifications on, do whatever it is that you guys need to do and help support the channel. Does mean a lot to me. I was really frustrated watching this game. Now, I never really thought in my mind that Ohio State had a shot to lose this game, right? I never really thought like, oh man, sorry, let me fix the green screen. That's a little better. I never really looked at this game and thought, okay, wow, Northwestern has us on the ropes here. Ohio State's going to lose this game. I knew that we would battle back, and I knew that we would find some way to win this game. But that some way was not pretty. Now, I know that people are going to look at it and be like, okay, survive and advance. That's November football. And true, in college football, November football is all about surviving and advancing, getting to that next game, looking at what you did and improve upon it. But there is a lot to fix in this game. Now, what I will say first off is that there was a lot of wind in this game, and it was whipping all game long. There were moments where Ohio State went with the wind, went against the wind there as well. But if it's this windy of a day, first of all, it shouldn't really necessarily matter. It shouldn't necessarily matter at all when you're one of the best offenses in the entire nation. You should still be able to move the football fairly well, and that's just something that Ohio State wasn't able to do. I know there was wind. I know there was rain. I know there was all of that good stuff, right? Which definitely did have an effect in this game. Travion Henderson was not ready to go. Jackson Smith and Jigba did not play in this game either. But I just don't understand. I mean, C.J. Stroud, my apologies, threw 26 passes in this game. 26. Really? When the wind is whipping that hard and it's raining sideways, you want to throw the ball? And, I mean, give credit where credit's due to C.J. Stroud. He threw some really, really good balls today in the wind and rain, and minus all of that, I mean, had some really good throws, but 26 times? Like, I just don't understand what the offensive coordinator was trying to do in this game. I know trying to give C.J. Stroud that confidence and that momentum, right, and get his kind of flow going, but sometimes the flow is not there. And it's not going to be there on a day where the winds are 30 miles an hour and it's raining sideways. So I just don't quite understand us trying to force the throw in this game. Eventually, we ended up relying more on the run. And again, you see it over here. We ended up getting a double-digit win out of it. Mayan Williams had 26 carries, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did struggle early on, but was able to get it going late, 4.3 yards per carry there. But how about the running ability of C.J. Stroud? I know I just harped on him there in the throwing ability, but again, he was making some pretty darn good throws within the wind, which are really, really difficult throws. I'll talk more about that in a second. He had 6 carries for 79 yards today, including a huge run that helped set up an Ohio State touchdown that would later seal this game. And I feel like we need more of this in our playbook because Northwestern was not prepared for it. And you saw that evident in this game. Northwestern was just not prepared for C.J. Stroud to run the ball, and I think we played that card perfectly. I think if we can incorporate some little designed runs, and I know that's not C.J. Stroud's forte, and that's not the thing that he wants to do, but it really did work today. He averaged 13.2 yards per carry today when he was able to tuck it and run the ball. I know this game may not give C.J. Stroud a lot of confidence in being able to throw the football, but again, I know it was windy and weather was a factor. This is the second time this has happened to Ohio State this season. Look at the game against Rutgers there as well, where the wind was whipping everywhere in Columbus. But C.J. Stroud running the ball today was really, really good, and he's got some speed that I didn't really think a lot of people knew C.J. Stroud had. So maybe calling a couple of those plays from here on out may not be such a bad idea. I might be speaking completely out of left field here, but I thought C.J. Stroud did a really good job at running the ball. I'd like to see him do that maybe once or twice every game now down the line, because it's going to throw a wrench into the plans of the defense, and they're not necessarily going to expect it. Now back to C.J. Stroud in the pass game. He had some really good throws today in the wind and in the rain. Our receivers just couldn't catch a damn thing. And look, when it hits you in the chest and it hits you in the hands, what's the number one rule of football, wide receivers? Those of you out there that played wide receiver, if I have any of you watching this video, is if it hits you in the hands, you have to catch the ball. There were some drops by Cade Stover, from Julian Fleming, from Emeka Egbuka there as well. Some of them were even deep shots down the field where C.J. Stroud put the ball in as good of a place as he could given the outside circumstances, and the wide receiver still could not come down with the pass. I understand the balls are wet, it's raining, it's slippery, everything like that, but you have to bring some of those balls in, right? Am I crazy? But you have to bring some of those in. You just have to. It is football 101. It hits you in the hands. C.J. Stroud would put it right on their chest, on their numbers, and they just weren't able to come down with the ball. Didn't end up mattering in the end as you look at the final score, but that's something that we definitely have to work on, and I can guarantee you that Ryan Day is now going to be turning the fans on in the practice room. They're going to be playing in windy scenarios. They're going to be playing in wet scenarios now, and they should have to prepare for this game. Both teams knew well before this game kicked off that there was going to be some weather in Chicago in this game, and yet Ohio State did not seem prepared for the weather circumstances at all, which just kind of baffles my mind because Northwestern and even the announcers were talking like, well, we all knew this was coming. We all knew there were going to be winds. Then why wasn't Ohio State prepared for it? You would think that they would have been more prepared to play this game, and they really weren't. For a lot of the game, I'll go outright and say I thought Northwestern was by far the better team, and especially running the ball there as well. Evan Hall was really able to power through this Ohio State defensive line, and this is the thing that lost Ohio State the Michigan game last year was physicality. And I never again had a doubt in my mind that it was going to lose us this game, but I know that it's a problem and it has to be solved. Because in order to beat a team like Michigan down the line, you have to be the more physical team on the field, and that's something that Ohio State was just not today. Evan Hall, 4.1 yards per carry. Brendan Sullivan, the quarterback, 4.6 yards per carry, and Cam Porter, 4.5 yards per carry there as well. So Ohio State overall. Now, Northwestern ran the ball 59 times. Again, they were prepared for the weather scenario. Don't really have a quarterback that can throw the ball all that well either. So they were really able to run the ball. That was kind of all their offense. 206 yards, and I know the final number says 3.5 yards per carry, but it has to feel like more than that. Northwestern took the lead early, 7-0, and it felt like Ohio State was maybe going to be in a little bit of trouble. But throughout the game, Ohio State just kept having these drives. They took advantage of some good field position in certain scenarios there as well, and were able to go down the field and score. So thank goodness that none of this affected Ohio State that much. Thank goodness we were playing a team like Northwestern that, again, didn't have that throwing ability. They were a lot more prepared to play this game than Ohio State was. I will say that, and I can say that with 100% confidence. Northwestern was a lot more ready to play this game than the Buckeyes of Ohio State were, and Northwestern had a much better game plan coming into this game. But at the end of the day, Ohio State proves why they do have that number 2 right by their name, as when they face adversity like this, they're able to do the little things right when it matters and be able to grind out a win like this. This was a very, very ugly win, but it was a win nonetheless. And again, that's November football. You survive in advance, but there has to be improvement from this team. Wide receivers, if the ball hits you in the hands or chest, catch the ball. I don't care if it's 40, 50, 40, 30, 50, 100 mile an hour winds, if it's raining, snowing, sleeting, whatever it may be. If it hits you here and it hits you here, you got to bring that ball in. There were so many balls that bounced off the chest of the wide receivers that has to fix next game. This run game, I think, got a little bit more confidence as the game went on. And it's a lot easier when you have 2 backs to rely on there in Travion Henderson and Mayan Williams. We only had Mayan Williams today. We'll see if Travion Henderson's going to be able to come back and be healthy. And then C.J. Stroud. This game is going to be demoralizing for him. It was the worst outing of his career passing-wise. He actually had more rushing yards than passing yards in this game, which I know some people are going to look at and, do one of those, do like a double take on the stat sheet, like, huh? And at the end of the day, C.J. Stroud, I don't know how this is the case, somehow still ended up with a 65.4 QBR, which I don't know how that number got there. I think his QBR should have been a lot lower than that. But, I mean, I guess the metrics don't lie, ? I don't know. I just thought that was a very weird thing, seeing C.J. Stroud's QBR that high. I mean, I'm not going to complain. I'll definitely take it, but a little weird to see the number as high as it is for the way that Stroud and the wide receiving group struggled today. One thing I haven't talked about is defense. Let's talk about defense for a second. They did step up when they needed to the most. Now, it didn't surprise me that Northwestern had over 200 yards rushing. That was pretty much all they were able to do all game long. But there were just spurts where this Ohio State defense looked really good, and it was getting Northwestern in the backfield, and it was getting them down and providing pressure and doing all of the little things right. And then there were times, especially, oh my goodness, one drive, I can't remember what drive it is. There was one drive in, I believe, the third or fourth quarter where just third down defense was not a thing for this team. I believe it was that 16-play, 60-yard drive that Ohio State ended up having. Yeah, 3rd and 2, Brendan Sullivan runs for 15 yards. 3rd and 7, Brendan Sullivan pass complete. 3rd and 9, Brendan Sullivan pass complete. 3rd and 8, Brendan Sullivan run for 8 yards. And then finally on 3rd and 8 at the Ohio State 36, Brendan Sullivan stopped him. We couldn't stop a thing on 3rd down, and that is an issue, right? This is something that Ohio State has been good at all year long, is they've been really good offensively on 3rd down, and they've been really good defensively on 3rd down, and we were frankly neither today. We went 4 of 15 on 3rd down on offense, and we allowed Northwestern 9 first downs on 3rd downs, and Northwestern went 9 of 20 for the game. Still under 50%, but well above what the mark that Ohio State usually is able to hit at, right? Just, there are a lot of things that need fixed from this game. The weather definitely played a factor. And hey, if the weather's like this in Columbus, where winds are whipping, maybe it's raining, snowing, whatever have you, I hope the Buckeyes are more prepared for that game, and they better be. I hope Ryan Day starts to prepare for those kind of situations, because honestly, my apologies. When you look at the game all the way at the end of the year, it was snowing in Ann Arbor last year, and you never know what kind of weather you are going to get in that game. Ohio State was outgained by 2 yards today, and I thought Northwestern was the more physical team throughout most of the game on the field. And that just can't happen if you are Ohio State. I give a lot of credit to Pat Fitzgerald and this Northwestern team, though. They came out with a really, really good plan. They executed it really, really well. And that is what led Northwestern to keep this game a lot closer than a lot of people expected. On top of that, put Ohio State's struggles on there as well. No team turned the football over today, which was fairly surprising. It was just good defensive effort from Northwestern. Ohio State's offense did struggle a little bit today. And I already know what people are going to say. This Ohio State offense, look, they've proven it now for the second straight week. They're not what we thought they are. We're not what they thought they were going to be this year. We got a couple more games to figure it out before the game at the end of the year against Big Blue. I trust Ryan Day and this offensive staff enough to get their stuff figured out. But there is a lot that needs figured out, and we don't have long to figure it out. Granted, we do have a couple opponents that I don't think we can afford to overlook. So I definitely think we played down to Northwestern today and just did not have a solid game plan at all. We should not play down to Indiana, and that should be a team that Ohio State is going to be favored by a lot of points by, and a lot of people are expecting the Buckeyes to blow them out on the road at Maryland. I know they just got kind of embarrassed by Wisconsin today, but that's a team that Ohio State can't take lightly either. And then, of course, on the road, at home against Michigan, that final game. There's a lot of motivation coming into that game. But if Ohio State and Michigan were to play tomorrow, I think a lot of people would be picking the Wolverines, which I know is not something a lot of Buckeye fans want to hear. But come on, guys. Ohio State just did not play well today. Granted, we survived. We move on. We look at what we need to improve and be glad that this game is behind us now. Ohio State improves to 9-0 on the season, as ugly as a win as it may have been. Ohio State does improve. I believe with all the chaos today, should keep that number 2 ranking in the college football playoff poll. Although if a team like Michigan ends up jumping this Buckeye team, I'm not going to be totally surprised by it. There are a lot of things that Ohio State needs to improve. But they battled through the elements. They battled through adversity yet again in this game and were able to come out victorious. But a lot of things need worked on from this game, specifically third down defense, wide receivers being able to just catch a ball when it's thrown in your wheelhouse. Marvin Harrison was the only one that was really able to do that today. And I know Jackson Smith and Jigba is still out with that hamstring injury there as well. We actually did outgain Northwestern on the ground and did have more yards per carry, but just through the air, I don't even know what we were trying to do. I mean, 26 passes when the wind is whipping at 20 to 30 to maybe even I think it got up to 35 miles an hour, just not going to work. So I think that's about it. I'm pretty sure I've covered everything in this game. Fixed the play calling. Fix wide receivers catching it. I like the way how our team battled, though. Battled through the elements and were able to go ahead and grind out this win. So definitely a team that we should have won by a lot more, but it's November. You survive, you improve on what you need to do, and you advance on to next week. And I think that Ohio State's going to look forward to this game against Indiana next week as a chance to prove that, hey, this past week was not the real us. And when they play Indiana next week, it'll say, hey, this is who we are. That's going to do it for my Ohio State fan reaction. Thank you guys for sticking with me here tonight. Lots of craziness happened tonight. If you want to know scores of games, I post everything on my community tab, including recaps of some of the bigger and or more surprising finishes that we have seen this week. So make sure you go check out my community tab after you've finished watching this video. I'm signing off. My top 25 will be out later, and I think I'm going to end up splitting stuff. So what I might do is I'm going to record my top 25 tomorrow, I think. If not, it'll have to wait until Monday, and then I will react to the playoff rankings on my community tab once those have been released. So until the next time, remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. And I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.